Well, thank you, Speaker. I want to thank Senator Marshall for the work she's done on behalf of the opposition as a critic of this bill. She is certainly much more knowledgeable about these numbers than I am, but I do want to make a few very brief remarks. Colleagues, the short title of this bill before us is Appropriation Act Number 2, 2020-21. And at first glance, there is nothing remarkable about this bill. It provides interim supply for votable expenditures listed in the main estimates. And we've already heard this, totaling just over $55 billion. On March 13th, Parliament passed C-11, again, as Senator Marshall has already said, Appropriation Act Number 1, which provided the first $44 billion of supply for this fiscal year. This bill brings that total to $99 billion out of an anticipated $125 billion in votable expenditures. The main estimates, colleagues, tells us that the government was anticipating $308 billion in total government spending for the entire fiscal year. But as we know, this now completely changed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the government's latest update on this COVID economic response plan, COVID spending currently stands at $154 billion. The Parliamentary Budget Officer tells us this number is actually $188 billion, and that total program spending will hit an all-time high of $553 billion. And yet, in the midst of this unprecedented rise in spending, we find ourselves with a government that refuses to be transparent and accountable. We are 3 months into the fiscal year, and we don't have a budget. We don't even have an economic update. We're now being told that we're going to get a snapshot, but nobody even knows what an economic fiscal snapshot is. What we do know is that it's not a fiscal update. It's not an economic update, and it surely is not a budget. Colleagues, in the midst of a crisis, oversight is more important than ever. But we all get from this government is a never-ending stream of excuses about why it cannot be done. So while the bill before us may appear to be routine, it is anything but. Parliament is providing the government with billions of dollars a day and yet have no financial roadmap that they are willing to share with us. I understand that we are living in extraordinary times, but if the Parliamentary Budget Officer can provide us with a fiscal scenario every month and a half, why can't the government? It's like switching back and forth between two different channels that appear to operate in different universes. Go to the Parliamentary Budget Officer channel and you learn that revenues are expected to drop by $39 billion this fiscal year. Switch over to the government channel and we are told there is no way to calculate the numbers. Switch back to the PBO channel and we learn that personal income tax revenue is on track to fall by $16 billion. Corporate income tax by $11 billion, excise tax by $10 billion, and EI premiums by $1.5 billion. We learn that expenses are going to be up by almost $200 billion, and that the deficit is on track to be more than $250 billion. Switch back to the government channel, and all you get is white noise. This, colleagues, is unbelievable. There is no reason why the government can't do these calculations. The Parliamentary Budget Officer works with a staff of 42 people, while the Department of Finance has 20 times that many. Clearly, the only reason the government has not provided us with these numbers is because they don't want to or they don't know. That is scary. This is a dangerous precedent. Look how they are handling the infrastructure program. The government tells us it has 52,000 infrastructure programs underway, but it will only release a list of 33,049 of those. That's 20,000 projects that are unaccounted for. Analysts at the Parliamentary Budget Office have tried to get the complete list for months, and the government has consistently stonewalled them, refusing to release it. This is a $180 billion program, and the government feels no obligation to provide proper disclosure to taxpayers and parliamentarians on what they are doing with the money. So here we are today with what should be the routine process of approving supply for the main estimates. But colleagues, this is anything but routine. A government which refuses to release a budget and refuses to disclose spending details, refuses to be transparent, refuses to be accountable, but still shows up requesting more money is contemptuous, not routine. Colleagues, this is the kind of hypocrisy. This kind of hypocrisy is not unusual with this government. It happens constantly. Even though it is becoming a familiar sight, it should still trouble us. If it doesn't, there is something wrong. Today, colleagues, we will be allowing this bill to pass reluctantly because the essential operation of the government programs relies on it. But it should be noted that we do so with deep concerns that this government is incompetent and unaccountable. And regrettably, it is all Canadians, colleagues, you, I, all Canadians, who are going to bear the cost for that. Thank you.